starts. So sometimes that button works, Alt-C, and sometimes it doesn't. So let's get going then. So this lady is infamous. Not famous, but infamous. Oh, I've already lost the photo. Let's go back. So I got so excited, I clicked on her photo too excitedly. So let me try to go back again. I'll start again, or we'll start again. So this lady is now infamous in Ukraine. So this is the BBC News website. Let's go over to the article we're going to read and see why she's so famous or infamous. So if you're infamous, that's the bad version of being famous. It's the negative version. It's sort of the opposite of being famous. So let's read the title then. So, woman suspected of Monaco bomb attack, found dead in Ukraine. So this lady here is now dead, in fact, I should say. This is an Interpol photo. So Interpol is sort of the police service of the world, as I understand it. Or is it Europe? I'm not quite sure which it is. I think it's like the police service of the world. So the European countries and the Western countries got together and decided, let's set up a special sort of international police force, and that's what Interpol stands for. So Inter is the international bit, and Pol is the police bit. So Interpol is the international police force, but it's very much has to get the agreement of the states that it's trying to work in. So if they try to go to a country and they want to work with the police force there, if they don't want to work with them, that particular state's police force doesn't want to work with Interpol. It can make it very difficult for Interpol. So it's sort of a bit of a mess up, really. So let's just read the little title down below here then. So it says, Interpol issued a red alert requesting the location and arrest of 39-year-old Anastasia Berovovska. I'm not saying the surname quite right. So how would you say that, Ruslan? How
I
should I say
would
that?
say her surname Berezovska.
Berezovska. Okay. I'm saying
Yeah.
the Zov a bit too heavy, I think, aren't I? But hopefully I'll get better. So, and the Anastasia, how would you say that bit there?
Anastasia.
Oh, I'll say again.
Anastasia Berezovska.
Anastasia. Oh, I'm not sure I can remember that. So I'll do my best, but I'll probably forget. So thank you very much for that. That's great. So these are the reporters who've put this story together, and they're Maia Davies, and Sarah Rainsford. That's the English. I think they're probably English reporters, and they described them actually as the Eastern European correspondent. So when they say this here, it means they deal particularly with the news from Eastern Europe. So they sort of write all the articles. They keep their finger on the pulse of what is happening in Eastern Europe. So does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, great. So it's come out. It's just about an hour ago. It says here it came out,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
today's news. So do you fancy having a quick read through,
Yeah,
or
okay.
even a slow read through?
Yeah, we will
Over
see
to you.
how it's gonna be.
No, that's okay. And say the name however you want to say it. So that's okay.
Okay.
Over to you.
The woman suspected of carrying out a parcel bombing in Monaco, which injured a sanctioned Ukrainian multimillionaire, and his family has been found dead. Ukrainian Security Service (SBU) has said. A cross-border manhunt had been launched for Anastasia Berezovska, a Ukrainian woman who officials believed had felt had fled the healthy city-state after planning the bomb in the entrance hall of an apartment building on 29 June.
Okay.
This,
Shall
yeah,
we hold
okay,
it there for a second?
yeah, okay,
Otherwise, we end up forgetting what we're doing, I think.
yeah,
So, anything of those first two paragraphs that you want to go back over
yes,
with them?
please.
Yeah.
I need, yeah, actually, yeah,
Mm,
the a bit more. Uh, would you mind to read it
mm.
again?
Okay. Yes. Okay. I'll do the whole thing again then. So let's do I'll do the first paragraph maybe to start with.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So the woman suspected of carrying out a parcel bombing in Monaco, which injured a sanctioned Ukrainian multimillionaire and his family, has been found dead. Ukrainian's security service, SBU, has said.
Uh, yeah, after your reading,
Hmm.
actually, I
Yeah.
guess, yeah, everything is clear, yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah,
The
but,
meaning is clear, you mean? Yeah.
yeah, meaning is clear, yeah, but
Hmm.
I'm probably struggle with the pronunciation of sanctioned,
Yeah. Yeah.
sanctioned.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay, so let me just read
Yeah,
this bit back to you then. This bit here. Then.
okay.
So it, I think I've done these words because I think the injured didn't sound quite right either. So
Ah, okay.
so injured. So there was a bombing, wasn't there? So if you get
Yeah.
injured, it means you were hurt in some way. Perhaps you was cut. Maybe bits of glass were stuck in him. Sometimes that's what sometimes happen in a bombing. Little bits of glass or metal get stuck in your body. So let's just
Yeah,
read it then.
yeah,
So
injured.
injured a sanctioned Ukrainian multimillionaire. So I'll read it again. So injured a sanctioned Ukrainian multimillionaire. So your go?
Injured a sanctioned Ukrainian multimillionaire.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it.
S-
Yeah.
Sanction, yeah,
Yeah.
sanction,
Sanctioned.
sanctioned, yeah,
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
sanction, and not sanctioned,
Sanctioned.
yeah, sanction.
Hmm. Sanctioned. So let's listen to them say it for a second. So they're taking the ED off. So let's listen to the ED version, I should say. Let's listen to this one.
Sanctioned.
Sanctioned. Do you want to try again?
Sanctioned, yeah,
Song.
sanctioned.
Um, I think sometimes your ends can sound a bit
Um,
French. I think so.
okay.
So you a little bit too much of the sound is coming through your nose. It seems. I mean, just be aware of it. So in time, just be aware of it, and in time, hopefully, you'll ease up on that sound, and it'll be a bit more sort of British sounding, I guess. But it doesn't matter, even if you don't change. I can understand it, but so just be aware of it. So I'll just say
Okay.
it again. So sanctioned, sanctioned. Go.
Sanctioned.
Yeah,
Sanctioned.
yeah. Your first one was perfect, I would say. So we'll listen to them once more.
Sanctioned.
Sanctioned. One final go.
Sanctioned.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a sanction.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. That's it. That's it. I think that's it. You're right. You're pretty much there. I would say. So
Yeah.
okay. So let's go back to the story. Sanctioned. So
Injured.
anything else? Anything to
Yeah,
yeah.
actually, yeah, the meaning I got it. Yeah,
Mm,
and yeah, with pronunciation, yeah, we
okay.
we pass. Yeah, we pass as
Okay.
well.
But, but parcel, did you say?
I know. I said with pronunciation we worked as well.
Okay, you've got that. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me read the second
Okay.
paragraph. And rather than me say the name again, I'll just say AB because that's her initials, isn't
Okay.
it?
Yeah,
I'll
I
just
got
say
it.
AB
Yeah,
because
yeah.
my pronunciation is different to yours, and it's going to get confusing otherwise. And I don't really know. Okay, so a cross-border manhunt has been launched for AB, a Ukrainian woman who officials believed, should say it's past tense, believed had fled the wealthy city-state after planting the bomb in the entrance hall of an apartment building on 29th June.
Hmm.
So we might say on the 29th
And
of June. We,
D29.
we might stick a few extra words in there. I think a lot of people would do that if we're reading it out
Yeah.
loud. Okay, so anything there?
Yeah, actually,
Mm.
yeah, he planting, yeah,
Mm.
planting the bomb, yeah, in a sunflowers, yeah, probably. He,
No, we often, when it's a bomb and it's
yeah,
being put somewhere, we often
um,
say planting. We often say
um,
planting.
okay, okay,
Even though it might be on the ground, on top of concrete, and it's not being dug into a hole, we just say planting. Perhaps we
okay,
should say putting, really. It basically means putting. But
yeah,
I,
okay,
but I guess with a bomb, you're probably trying to be careful, and because you don't want it to go off in your face, blow yourself up. So with planting, you're being a little bit more careful than you might normally be, I suppose.
mm-hmm. Yeah, okay,
But I
and
don't really. Yeah, go on.
yeah,
So
and
let's just look at. Yeah, go on. Hmm.
manhunt is as well. There was manhunt.
Maintain, did you say? Sorry.
Um,
Mm. Oh,
manhunt.
manhunt. That's right. Yes. So when a criminal or a terrorist is at large or free running around in the country or in, say, Europe, they start a manhunt. So we're
Mm,
hunting for this man. That's basically what it boils down to. We're hunting for this criminal, this man. But in this case, of course, it's actually a woman. So it does sound a bit strange, but we never ever say, I've never heard anyone say a woman hunt. A woman hunt. It's always a
mm,
man. So if it's a criminal or a terrorist or something, the police go on a manhunt or they talk about a manhunt. And it
manhunt.
might literally be, if it's say in the woods, they know he's in the woods. They might say, and they went on a manhunt in the woods for the criminal or the terrorist. And they may say they had guns or something or whatever. Yeah,
Mm.
as a way of
Okay.
saying you're searching for someone. That's that. Um,
Yeah.
Anything else there?
Mm, uh, this. No, yeah, I think yeah, is
You're not
okay.
sure. It sounds like you're not sure.
Yeah, just small moments. Who officials believed um, had fled the healthy. Yeah, okay, okay. I got it. She like fled
Hmm.
after after putting the bomb.
Hmm.
Yeah, in a
Yeah,
hole.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So she ran away from the scene of the disaster, almost in effect. No bomber, or very, very few bombers would stay there with the bomb. If they do stay with the bomb, they're called suicide bombers, of course.
Ah.
But
Yeah.
that's not most people, hopefully. Well, I say, well, it doesn't matter, does it? Okay, so let's go over these words again. So fled is the past tense of flee, I suppose, isn't it? Flee. If you
Yeah.
flee from something, you're running away from it. Flee.
Yeah.
So,
Flee.
and fled is the
Flee.
past tense, flee.
Flee.
So FLEE is flee, to run away.
Flee. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And I think every time you've said this word, you've said healthy. Healthy.
Ah, wealthy.
Yes, that's it. Wealthy. And
Well,
your TH, I can hear your TH there. That's good. So just say it again. So wealthy.
wealthy.
You've lost it now.
Ah, wealthy.
Yeah, it's
Wealthy.
coming along. It's coming along. So that's it. So it has lots
Yeah,
of money. So if you miss the if we take the Y away from that word, if we ignore the Y and say the rest of it, it's then just wealth.
wealth,
Wealth. Can you say
wealth,
wealth?
wealth, wealth.
Yeah, that's coming along nicely. Yes, I think that's it. So it is a difficult sound for a lot of people. So just keep at it. You'll get there eventually, I'm sure. So it comes up. So when it says city state, what do they mean by that? City state.
Stage. Yeah, it's like probably capital of the city. No, like city state. It's like
Mm.
independent city. Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yes, that's right. Yes. The city is an independent state in
Yeah.
its own right. So Monaco, or Monaco, I think some people say Monaco. How would you say this city?
Monaco.
Monaco. I'm used to saying Monaco. Um, so really, you could say Monaco is pretty much a city in itself, and the whole country is that city. That's not entirely true, really, because there is sort of the capital of Monaco, and it's like the city in the middle. So it's not really
Oh.
true. Does that make sense? So it's a big piece of land, but it's a titchy, very small piece of land when you consider it, when you consider the size of France. So we just go back. We had a little photo a little while ago. So this is the bottom of France, and the sea here is all the Mediterranean. And this area, as we said previously, actually, is um, the French phrase is the Côte d'Azur, Côte d'Azur. So that's the blue coast. This whole area is called the blue coast. But in English, we tend to say the French Riviera, the French Riviera. Obviously, a little bit of Italy here, I think. And so there's Monaco right there, Monaco. So it's just a little pimple in this map here. It's quite close to Nice. Nice is a very nice city. And this has very good weather most of the year round. Although there is a wind that passes down here at some one point in the year, isn't there? So it isn't entirely perfect. Whoops. Let me expand that up again. There we go. So that's that photo again. So do you have anything to ask about mention about this photo? Because we looked at this before.
Mm, yeah.
Anything else?
No, not really.
Yeah, so we've done this photo. We've got the scale down the bottom is that's 50 kilometers. So you can see it's just
Oh,
titchy. I mean, it really is titchy as a city or a place, I suppose. Okay,
yeah.
so let's go back to our story. Okay, there we go. Um, there was anything else there? I haven't. I did read this. Haven't I read that? So,
Mm,
um, so there was the word. This word here. So just, do you
yeah.
want to try that word again, just to practice?
Yeah. Launched. Launched.
Oh, yeah, that's better. The second one is the better one. So it's the ed ending, isn't it? So it's always a bit tricky. So
Yeah.
launched, launched.
Launched.
That's it.
Launched.
Yeah. So I would say this is one of the situations when the ed makes more of a T sound. I would say launched. Yeah, that's a T sound, isn't it? So there's about three, maybe even four different sounds that can make the ed on the end, and that happens to be the T one, I think.
Yeah.
There was always something else. Oh dear, I can't think what it was. There was something else. Oh, what about the Ukrainian security service? Now I said now you said SBU. You said
Yeah.
SBU.
has
So what
been.
do you say in Ukrainian? How do you pronounce that? What would that be said in Ukrainian? How would it be? How do Ukrainians say that?
SBU,
Esbu. Yeah,
SBU.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I tried to copy that. I just said the esbu. I said the
Ah,
esbu. That's interesting.
okay.
That's fascinating. Okay, so we've done the first couple of paragraphs. There was something else. I
Yeah.
can't think what it is. So let me read these ones through first, and then it's your go.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so the 39-year-old's body was found buried in a forest in the Kiev region with gunshot wounds to the head, according to the SBU. I've done it again. According to the SBU and
Mm.
Ukraine's prosecutor general, two people, including a current officer within Ukraine's military defense (MOD), have been detained on suspicion of murder. So over to you. Your go.
39-year-old's body was found buried in a forest in the Kiev region with gunshot wounds to the head, according to the SBU in Ukrainian's prosecutor general. Two people, including a current officer within Ukrainian's Ministry of Defense, have been detained on suspicion of murder.
Yes, yes, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, I
So let's,
just, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that one detained. Yeah,
mm,
has
yeah.
been.
So if you're detained, it means you're held up, you're held or stopped. So sometimes a train is detained. So a train is late. Maybe there's something wrong on the line, and so they don't let the train go until it's safe. So perhaps there's something wrong with the railway line or something. So a train is detained or delayed, you might say. But in this circumstance, we're talking about people being detained, and we're talking about military officers and the police, etc. It's not exactly the same as, but it sounds to me very similar to being arrested. Arrested,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So they're sort of been arrested by the police, I would say, or some sort of authority has arrested them effectively.
We can say as well like a jailed, no? Jailed.
I wouldn't go. They might be doing that because they don't want them to run away. But when you
Ah,
say jailed, it sounds a little bit like you might confuse it with having been sentenced. They've been found guilty and sentenced because you do get jailed when you've been found guilty and sentenced, I would say. So just to say arrested or
yeah,
detained there's more information in that. When you
okay.
said jailed, it sounds like there's already been a judgment been made. But
Yeah, yeah, probably.
although it seems might be, well, I don't want to prejudge the case, but yeah. So I suppose if they said arrested, it does sound more official. But when you say detained, even here, it's not quite arrested, really, is it? In truth, so detained might be they've been said, okay, wait here in this office while we question you about this matter, and that isn't really being arrested. But if they left because I don't want to be detained, I don't want to talk about this. It might be that he loses his job, perhaps. So he's not actually been arrested. Maybe I'm guessing. I'm making lots of guesses here. So I'm trying to sort of tease out or show some of the differences between detained and arrested, and sort of just point out some of the tricky meanings that are sort of hidden in some of these words. So if you said jailed, it sounds like, oh my goodness, this man must be guilty or something. But just by saying detained and not even arrested, there's lots of different shades of meaning in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, detained. Yeah, it's
So
a
if
bit.
I was, say I was detained, it might be that someone was talking to me about a very serious matter, and I might get arrested at the end of it, perhaps. But
Okay.
maybe I will say something that explains the whole
Yeah.
situation. They say, "Oh, okay, we understand now why this happened, and so we won't detain you any longer. Please go about your day." And
Okay.
I didn't get arrested or anything like that or something.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but we don't really know. I don't really know what's happened. So maybe they have really been arrested, and maybe they should have said arrested here, but I just don't know. So
Yeah. Okay.
maybe they use the wrong word, or but with the BBC they do sort of they do sort of work out the right words and
Hmm.
try to get the meaning out as best they can. That's some of the details there. So let's just read it a little bit again then. So do you fancy reading this again? I'll read it for
Yeah.
you
Okay.
once more.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So the reason we want to do it for because I think you said suspicious here, but the real word is suspicion.
Suspicion.
S- So you might look suspicious.
Ah, look suspicious.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I might have suspicion. I might have some suspicions about you because you look suspicious. I have
Oh,
suspicions about you, or a suspicion about you because you look suspicious to me. So is it
okay.
noun and verb and adverb and etc. Isn't it? Here we go again. So two people.
Yeah. Okay.
So do you want to say these two words again? So detained, suspicion. Do you want to say those words there again?
Detained on suspicion.
Yeah, that's it. On suspicion. That's it. So I'll read the whole thing again. That little passage. That one line really. So
Yeah.
two people, including a current officer within Ukraine's military Ministry of Defense, MOD, have been detained on suspicion of murder. So you'll go.
Two people, including a current officer within Ukrainian's Ministry of Defense (MOD), have been detained of suspicion of murder.
Mm. Yeah, that's pretty good actually. Well done. That sounded so much more confident. It really was very good.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
we'll go back to this word though. I think every time you've read this out,
Hmm.
I think you said Ukrainians. Ukrainians.
Ukraine's.
Yeah, that's it. Ukraine's. That's it. Yeah.
Ukraine's.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Well done. That's it. That's good. Brilliant, in fact. So let's go on to the next two. Don't think
Yeah.
there's anything else. Although I haven't said that, maybe just go to the first one again. I think when you said, I can't
Mm.
think how you said it now. This
Yeah.
didn't sound quite right. So let's just read that little bit there to the comma. Let's do
Okay.
this bit again. So this is the lady.
Yeah.
She was buried in
About
the forest, so they presumably they dug up the body, it would seem. So gunshot wounds to the head, and this is what she had, I think. Gunshot wounds to the head. Do you just read that out again?
gunshot wounds to the head.
Yeah, yeah, that's really
Just,
clear.
just
Yeah, go on.
a bit confused because wounds, I
Hmm.
understand it's like injury, yeah.
Yeah.
And when it's gunshot, it's actually like a shot, and there is just only um
Mm.
uh, mark. There is no probably like a wound. Yeah, I'm a bit confused with this. Yeah.
So, so, so when you get when you when you get shot,
Yeah.
which happens all the time, of course. So, what do you mean? Say that again.
Um,
So she was shot in the head, and that's presumably why she died, or how she died.
Yeah, to my understanding,
Yeah,
it should be like without wound.
it's a
No?
meaningless word. They shouldn't put it in there. Okay, I think that's what you said. So I said the S off. A wound.
Wound.
So this is the injury you get.
Injury, yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
Once something happens, it could be any sort of a thing might happen to you. That's interesting. So I put wound, and they're saying wound is the past tense, past what of wind.
wind.
Yeah, do you know, it's amazing, isn't it, what they're doing? Let's carry on down. Ah, so injury. Let's go
Oh,
to injury.
injury. Wound.
So let's listen to how they say it.
wound,
Wound.
wound,
Ooh, Trevor does it a little bit, I think.
Wound.
So a wound is damage to part of your body, especially a cut or a hole in your flesh, which is caused by a gun, knife, or other weapons. And it says the wound is healing nicely.
Mm.
6 soldiers are reported to have died from their wounds. Is that last one any use to you?
Yeah, 6 hours important.
So the wound is the injury in particular.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometime in war, people have said soldiers died of their wounds. That's a sort of a
Mm,
classic, but it's been used many, many times. So they don't really say where their wound was, but obviously they were in battle and they had injuries to their body somewhere. And they sometimes do just say
mm,
um, the soldiers
okay.
in the battle, all the soldiers died of wounds, perhaps, or
Wounds. Yeah,
or actually just gets it shortened down to died of wounds. Died of wounds. But it's
oh,
simply to say
died
that.
of wounds. Okay,
So you might
yeah.
say, I died because of, oh, I died. Someone died because of a very particular injury. But sometimes it just gets narrowed down to when there's so many different wounds that there could be, and they don't want to list them, they just say died of wounds. Died of wounds. So that they survived the battle, and then a week
Okay,
later, even
yeah,
a month later, or a year, or perhaps not a year later, let's say a month or two later, they died of wounds. So
yeah, yeah, I got it, yeah.
the injury was so bad they never really quite got over it.
Guns,
So
wounds.
yeah, that they probably could have rewritten this sentence so the word wounds wasn't there. They probably could have rewritten it that way, but they for some reason they wanted to include it. Don't know
Mm,
why.
Oh,
So they
okay.
could have just said, "Oh, the body was found to have gunshots, gunshots." I suppose the temptation is to say that the person died of gunshot,
Mm.
died by gunshot, I should say.
Almost he was killed by gunshot, no?
You might yeah, something like that. But I suppose the thing is, there's an S on there. There's an S on the end.
It means not one, yeah?
Yeah, so it's unlikely she shot herself in the head twice. Unlikely,
Mm,
and then buried herself. I suppose that's very unlikely, isn't it?
buried.
So maybe that's why they wanted to say it.
How we can say, for example, in different way buried,
Mm.
because it's not like a normal procedure of buried. It's like a, yeah, crime, and is it
Mm.
okay to use buried in these sentences as well?
Yes, yes. There is no sort of good or bad burial, I suppose. Yes.
Ah, okay.
So maybe they could have said hidden, perhaps the
Okay.
39-year-old. But even then, there's when you say hidden, there's sorts of extra meanings in there that the BBC is probably trying to avoid putting in. So that I think the BBC is trying to very accurately say what they're allowed to say. And maybe the word hidden wasn't in the original text they got from the ESPO, so they're just
Yeah,
sticking to
yeah.
what they know, I suppose, because they want to be as accurate as possible on the BBC. Sometimes they're not very fast with it because they're trying to be so accurate. They're trying to make sure they're absolutely spot on accurate, and as a result, other newspapers or other TV channels have already published the news, and the BBC is still trying to work out, some details. So, so the BBC
Mm,
tends to be accurate, but slow publishing the news. If that makes any sense.
yeah, I
So
got it. Yeah.
yeah.
Suspicious. Yeah.
So we did that was wounds. So we just go up to the word there again. That did sound something like a little bit like
Uh, I
guess.
got
Yeah.
I
So
got it. Yeah.
yeah. So do you want to do those first 3 or 4 words again,
Yeah.
or 5
Okay.
words maybe?
The 39-year-old body was found
Yeah.
buried in
Yeah.
a forest.
Spot
Yeah.
on. Spot on. Yeah. Very good. Um, uh, 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 the sticking an S on the end can be
Uh,
quite tricky. So let's just maybe that there. So
mhm.
and I'll try and say it with clearly with that S on the end, because she owns the body and it was hers that was buried. So the 39-year-old's body. So it's a very slight S I stuck in there. So the 39-year-old's body was found buried in a forest. So it's a very subtle, very quiet sounding S, but I am saying it. So the 39-year-old's,
The
something like that.
39 years old's
Yeah,
body
yeah,
was
that's it.
found buried.
Yeah, that's it. That's great. That's great. Okay, but it's very subtle. It is there. Okay.
Yeah.
Shall we do a couple more? It's
Yeah, okay.
7:30-ish.
Yeah, okay. We can do it if you have a time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's these two, isn't it? This one here, these two.
Yeah.
So
Suspicious. Suspicious.
so I think you read the last one, didn't you? So I'll read these two then.
Yeah.
So Berevskova, I think I'm saying it. So that's how I'm going to say it anyway. So
Uh,
Berevskova arrived in Ukraine 2 days after the attack on 1st July. The SBU said in its statement. Oh, so that's interesting. So the SBU said in its statement. So that this to me says that the BBC is reading this statement, and the BBC has it quite clearly in front of them, and this is what this article comes from.
okay.
So they're really close to sticking to what they can in this article here. So sorry about that, I interrupted myself. Let me carry on from there. So, citing law enforcement sources, 2 suspects met Berevskova in a car on a highway in the Kyiv region 2 days later. The Office of Ukraine's Prosecutor General told the BBC. That's interesting. So it looks like they've got some sort of communication with Ukraine's Prosecutor General and SBU. So it looks like there's 2 sources here in this story, isn't it? So the BBC is really, just to sort of point this out, that they're clearly trying to work with the sources to get as accurate as they can. So that's my go. So over to you then. So is those 2 bits there? Your go.
Yeah. Berezovska arrived in Ukraine 2 days after the attack on the 1st of June. The SBU said in its statement, citing law enforcement sources, 2 suspects met Berezovska in a car on a highway in the Kyiv region 2 days later. The Office of Ukraine's
Hmm.
Prosecutor General told BBC.
Yeah, that's great. That's very good. Very good. Um, now,
I'm not, yeah,
just interrupt.
you
You
okay?
missed out the. Now,
The,
you may have said it with a z.
uh,
So
yeah.
yeah. So carry on. I interrupted you. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about prosecutor. Is it like because I
Mm.
don't know this word.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this is the British version or or translation, let's say, of Ukraine of a position that is in Ukraine. So there's someone in Ukraine who
Okay.
holds this position, and it's a title, a job.
Ah,
And if you're a prosecutor, it means this is the legal side, I would imagine. So if you're a prosecutor, it means you prosecute. I would have thought it means you prosecute the law. So you know what the law is, and you
yeah,
find people that
okay.
break the law, and then you
Yeah,
charge people, or you probably arrest them, and then maybe you charge someone with the breaking of the law, I guess. So
it's
let's put
like
prosecute.
some authorities, yeah, who charge people, yeah, we can
Yes,
say
that's it. Yes, that's the sort of
prosecute.
thing. Yes. Let's quickly read what it says here. We don't really have a prosecutor general, I don't think. We might have an attorney general. But let's see what this says here. So, in some countries, a prosecutor is a lawyer or official who brings charges against someone or tries to prove in a trial that they are guilty. From what we read, I think it's the first part. So it's not the or bit, it's the first one, I think. So in some countries, so in America, I think they have this, but we don't really have it in this country. I don't think so. So in some countries, a prosecutor is a lawyer or official who brings charges against someone. That's what it sounds like. And the prosecutor general sounds like the person who's in charge of everyone who does this. So they're the leading person in the country that does this particular job about bringing charges against criminals and terrorists, etc.
Okay. It means that, in simple words,
Yeah.
that they collect some evidence against of
Mm.
someone who probably committed the crime. Yeah.
Yeah, whom they believe has committed a crime, so
Yeah.
they have evidence. That's it. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Prosecutor.
and the
Okay.
prosecutor general sounds like the person who's in charge of all those below him who are doing that job. If that
Ah.
makes any sense. So when you put general on the end of it, it sounds like they're the person who's in charge of it all. So they're the leading lawyer of the country, I would imagine.
Mm.
So
Okay.
it, that they have some official role in the country. So that they're not a judge, but I don't know how the legal system works in Ukraine, but that's how it sounds to me. They're not a judge, but they're trying to get the law to take place. They're forcing this to happen. Forcing they're making it happen, as I should say. If no one charged them with the crime, no one would go to court. No one would get a judgment, I suppose, against them. I haven't used quite the right words there. So in the UK, we do have a role called the Attorney General, and the word attorney and lawyer are basically the same thing. But the Attorney General has a completely different role to this. It's completely different. I think he's still in charge of the court system in a way, but he's not in charge of the judges. Uh, but maybe I'm wrong. So I should know how my own country works, but I don't know. So does that make sense? Do you think you understand it? And I'm guessing some of this, but that's my understanding from the words here.
Yeah,
So if we
I
just
got it. Yeah.
search, yeah, go on.
The meaning of this, yeah, is okay.
It seems to be someone called
Oh,
Ruslan
yeah,
Kravchenko. Ever heard of him?
Yeah, Kravchenko, yeah, Ruslan Kravchenko.
Is he in military fatigues? Military
Mm.
outfit. So the current prosecutor general of Ukraine is Ruslan Shevchenko, Kravchenko,
Yeah.
Kravchenko, who has been in office since almost exactly a year. He was appointed amid significant political pressures and has been involved in high-profile cases, including the prosecution of war crimes committed during the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Kravchenko's appointment was seen as a move to strengthen Ukraine's anti-corruption efforts and to maintain the independence, that's interesting, independence of the Prosecutor General's office. That's interesting. He's quite fairly young, doesn't he? He's not like a man in his 50s or 60s or something.
Mhm. Yeah, probably he's like 40s or 30, so 30-ish.
Yeah, he could be, yeah. And he's only had the role basically a year, so it must be very difficult to do. Yeah, so good luck to the guy. That does a great job. So, yeah, I was saying this name, and I'm completely wrong. And I just realized when you were reading it out that I was wrong with that name, completely wrong. I just hadn't looked at it clearly enough. Clearly. Uh, and I'm probably wrong saying this Esbu. I'm probably wrong saying that because other British people will see that and not know what on earth I'm talking about. So I probably should stick to SBU because every British person would see that and say it that way. So I'm wrong to say it that way. But yeah, it's over to you, really. So anything you want to ask about this or talk about his last little bits here?
Just this is two suspects met Berezovska. It's like met. It's like they had spoken with her before, and they arranged meeting, or it just like was suddenly they catch her. Because yeah, when it says met, I don't understand clear if it like was arranged or it just like was suddenly.
It's more like the suddenly, I think,
Um,
really. So in this paragraph here, it doesn't really tell us why they met. It doesn't tell us how they decided to meet. It just says that they met, and not even happened to met. It just says they met. So if you happen to meet someone, that's by chance or by accident. If you say happen, it doesn't say that, does it? It doesn't say anything about planning or accident or anything. But it's highly, highly unlikely that two suspects just met them by chance. We don't really know. This is really the height of spying and espionage, isn't it? Really. So
yeah, yeah,
espionage is another word we use for spies or the act of spying. Really,
um,
espionage. Espionage. It's the sort of the
yeah, it's
verb of
most like
spying, I guess.
yeah, but for example, is it possible if
Mm.
if we instead of met, for example, we could put it two suspicious espionaged Berezovska, yeah.
So say that again. Say again.
Two suspicious,
Well, when you say suspects, it doesn't
ah,
mean they are suspicious.
oh, yeah.
So really, the point when you say suspects, it's sort of put to my mind, it's pointing back to the two people here. But even then,
Yeah.
it's not certain. But it'd be highly unlikely if it wasn't it? Really. So two people, including a current officer within Ukraine's military defense, have been detained. And then it says two suspects met Berezovska in a car on
Okay.
a highway. So, so again, the BBC is really trying to not go beyond the information that they have. I suspect.
Yeah.
Fascinating. It just looks like classic spy moves. Absolute classic
Mm,
spy moves. This is to me. So
yeah.
maybe the two suspects. So she comes over. Let's talk beyond the story now. So
Okay.
from my reading of this, I'm assuming that she is a spy for Russia, or she's been. Now she may be a willing spy because she just loves the Russian system, or she loves Russia, and she's always loved Russia. Or it might be that she's been forced to it in some way because the Russians have some power over her, or maybe they've
Mm.
paid her. So
Yeah.
as I'm sure you're well aware of this, of course. But what about the two suspects? So these other people that met her,
Yeah.
are they the Russian agents as well? Are these the two that have forced her to do whatever she did, or told her what to do? Maybe she's willing, maybe she's unwilling in all this, but she's dead now, of course. So we don't doesn't really matter in one sense, I suppose.
Mm.
But we now have to work out these two suspects. Are they really Russian agents themselves, or are they in the spying game? Were they trying to catch her, maybe? Or maybe they didn't know what she did. It's very. What do you think about this?
Yeah.
You
Okay.
probably you probably know more about it than I do. But don't forget this little bit here. It says, so two people, including a current officer within Ukraine's Ministry of Defense, have been detained on suspicion of murder.
All right.
They must be the same two who are the meta. So
Okay,
what do you make of this? You must have more.
let's just yeah, um, let's just double check these sentences. Two
Mm,
people, including a current officer with Ukraine's Ministry of Defense,
mm,
has been. Okay, yeah, okay, I got it. Yeah, I
yeah.
guess the situation looked like she was. Like in task to
Hmm.
put the bomb and kill this Ukrainian
Mm, mm,
guy, but
yeah.
some yeah
Hmm. Hmm.
multimillionaire. Yeah, the Ukrainian multimillionaire. And you know what? Something went out the plan, and she was seen, and actually, these things uh, cause these things cause another. He's another her like cooperation. An it caused like someone from her teams must killed her because she did her work is not like clear, and she was seen, and to protect themselves they had to kill her.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, like this.
That's how it looks from from the surface, doesn't it? That these two people, for some reason, had to kill her to cover something up, doesn't it? Because she was, after all, buried in a forest. So yeah,
Yeah.
and she was shot as well in the head. It's very disturbing, isn't it? Very sad. This sort of thing happened. Um,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
what you was let me just put into other words what you're saying.
Okay.
So she was. Now you said, I think you said something like entasked or
In task.
entasked.
In task, yeah, we can say like this, in
I
task. Like she had a task.
yeah entasked. Oh, this and oh, So let's search this word in task, and
Bro.
it is not come up with any possibilities. So we don't the dictionary doesn't
Uh,
recognize this as a real word.
for example,
Um,
if instead we put a
mm.
in a front, if you put I instead of
Oh,
E,
in
I,
in.
yeah,
Okay, let's try that.
probably.
In task. Mm.
No,
Intact,
no,
intake. So
yeah,
let's just
no.
say N like that, and then put a. So it's come up with this. So there are lots of. So really, this is a French. This is a French sort of. So let's see what it comes up. So I'll tap that in there. So I'll put a little dash or hyphen on the end, and oh, here we go. This is interesting. So when you do that in these online dictionaries, that sort of means it's the prefix or the starting phrase or letters to a word that comes after it. So, and the meaning of N or EN is really in, I would say. Well, does it mean in? Well, let's listen to how they say it.
in,
And there's more N, isn't there, this one?
N,
N, especially in American English. Um, so there's a word you might say. Oh, blast. There we go. So en masse. Hopefully I've spelled that correctly. So that is pronounced as en masse. En masse. So that means a big number, a group of people, or a large amount of something en masse. So the n can be used sort of the way you're saying. So n tasked sounds like a possibility, doesn't it? So n as a unit of measure, enroll. So or em. So it could be en or em. So so entomb, enthrone. This is what I was looking for here, really. So plane. Now no one uses this nowadays. So when you're going onto a plane, you can say I'm on plane, and it's spelled en, on plane. But no one I've ever heard of says that. I think it's in the 1950s. In the 1950s they said this, but they don't say it now, as far as I'm aware. So enmesh, that means surround. Let's flick through them quicker. Empower. I think there's probably more. Oh, enable, encourage. Enable. Sort of getting a lot closer to what you said. Encourage, enrich, enslave. So these are the ones that are accepted, the ones we've had here. Enabled. And it's not far from enabled, is it? Your one, really. That's the closest one. So you're not a million miles away. That's interesting. Endemic. That's interesting. Yeah, never mind. So is it worth flicking down? Oh, this is so when they've got the dash at the front, it means it's the ending of a word. So this is the suffix. When it's like this, it's a suffix. That means en on the end of a word. And there are a good number, but not very many. So you put en on the end of blacken. If you make something more black, if you add black to something, you blacken it. Blacken. If you make something taller, you can heighten. Let's heighten. You don't use it very often, I suppose. Let's heighten it. It looks better when it's higher. Let's heighten it. Heighten. Heighten.
Okay, Python. Okay.
Yeah. So you can do what you're saying, but there's only accepted words where you can do it. And I forget. I think it's Old English does this originally, and most of these, and there were an awful lot of words you could stick an en on the end of it, but they died out over the last so many centuries, and we now only have a few have survived. So earthen. So with a pot, sometimes in the garden you might have a pot plant.
Mm-hmm.
So you might sometimes it's basically a pot plant is made out of soil. So sometimes we talk about earthenware, earthenware.
Mm.
So, and that's basically what a pot plant is made out of. It's made out of earthenware. I haven't really explained that very well. Sorry. Wooden, ashen, these are all real words, and there are probably others. Yeah, so we can go on forever and ever here. Oh, encase is another one. Endanger, enthrall, but or enrobe. You put clothes on someone, you could say enrobe. He was
And,
enrobed in rags, you might say, or enrobed as a king, or enrobed as a king. So
yeah,
yes,
probably I would have to say like she uh,
yeah,
she
yeah.
was on a task, no, or she had a task.
No, what we would say, they might say she had a task to
Yeah,
complete. But
yeah.
when we're talking about slaves, when we're talking about spies, we tend to say in the UK she was on a mission, a mission.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was on a mission.
But I sort of have the suspicion. I think maybe she was an unwilling accomplice. She was
Unwilling.
unwilling. Maybe she was unwilling. We don't really know.
Yeah.
And I wonder if I don't know quite the right word to use really, but yeah. So yeah, let's just say mission. She was on a mission. So you explained this about 10 minutes ago. So if I just try and put in other words how you put
Mhm.
it. So
Yeah.
Berezovska was on a mission. It went wrong. Maybe she did. I have a suspicion that maybe she didn't do it correctly, so that it intentionally went wrong, so that it didn't kill anybody, but it did injure them because it was in the lobby of a hotel. I think, wasn't it? But maybe I'm wrong. So I'm just making this up a little bit now.
Okay.
So she went wrong. She went back to her handlers. So people who look after spies and control them are often called handlers because they handle the spies' missions and other details. A handler.
Angela.
So
Okay.
a spy has a handler. They control the spy and tell them what to do, and perhaps pay them and give them directions, whatever. So she went back to her handlers or handler, and ended up getting killed or shot for her trouble. Okay,
And of that she was killed, yeah, because of
yeah. So she was killed. That's right, or
yeah.
maybe even executed. Yeah. But my feeling is that it sort of makes Ukraine look corrupt, doesn't it? So this
Um,
story, it sort of helps Putin because it denigrates Ukraine, denigrates. So makes Ukraine look dirty. If you denigrate something, you make it look
mm,
dirty. So I'm not
yeah,
sure. Yeah,
denigrate like and the opposite of denigrate like oh, I forgot.
I don't know what the opposite of that would be. Sort of makes cleaner. Um,
Denigrate.
make
Like
t-
not a country which is
mhm.
which is developing, yeah, but underdeveloping, no, or
um, well, you could use denigrates in any
yeah,
situation, I
denigrate,
suppose.
yeah.
In many situations.
Okay,
So I might denigrate my character by
okay,
stealing something, and I get caught, and I damage my character in other people's opinion. I denigrate my character, so I put dirt on my character, on my because I make myself look dirty because I committed some sort of a crime. So a person can denigrate their character, or I could try to denigrate your character. So I might publish on Twitter something that's untrue about you, let's say. So I can attempt to denigrate your character, and I might succeed, of course. I don't know. Hopefully, I don't. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Denigrate.
yeah, denigrate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
actually,
yeah.
yeah, but you know what, like, hardly,
Mm,
but, I just look at this story and
mm,
for me it's like a bit unusual that
yeah.
the woman
Oh yeah.
was involved in this such story.
Mm.
It's like,
Oh, if it'd been a man, they saying it would have been
yeah,
more normal.
if
Yeah.
it's the man, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, for me,
It's more expected. Yeah.
more
More
expected,
normal.
yeah, but
Yeah. Yeah.
even
But
I heard
am I
that,
right in saying that she pretended to be a man, didn't she? Am I
yeah,
right in saying
yeah,
that? Yeah. Yeah.
I just wanted
Well,
to
it's very
say,
clever. It's very clever, isn't it? Well, fairly clever.
yeah,
Because you nearly got away with it, I would guess. Well, I don't know about nearly, but it's
and
interesting that they caught the two men really quickly. So
mhm,
it seems to me, I can't help but think that the SBU or the SBU, as I keep saying,
yeah,
seem to have had an idea this was happening. Maybe they were using drones to follow them or something. They seem to have caught them too quickly. I think the SBU must have known. Perhaps they were tapping their phone. Have
oh
you heard that
yeah,
phrase, tapping the phone? Yeah.
yeah, tapping the phone, it's like a tracking the phone, yeah,
It's, it's probably more than it's probably different to tracking. So yeah, so with a mobile phone, they can be tracked in the sense of you know where the phone is. Oh, it's in West London. It's in Scotland. This phone, or it's in a particular town in Scotland. But when you
yes,
tap a phone, you listen to what's being said on the phone.
like,
So
okay,
so there's tracking and tapping. There's these two down the bottom.
oh,
So tapping is listening to a phone, listening to what's being said, and
oh,
tracking is just following it's going, where it is going. So it may be going on the underground, or it's going in a car along the motorway, or it's stopped somewhere.
yeah,
Yeah, and presumably
and
the person is. Yeah.
I'm guessing that uh,
Mm,
later on we will have some new updates about this story, and
yeah.
we
Mm.
probably will know about the backyard who stand up of this in general.
You said back.
Stand up,
Wait.
stand back of this, like,
Oh,
who
what's
was,
behind this? Do you mean what's
yeah, who
behind
was,
all of this? Yeah.
yeah, who was behind all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So the Americans do say, "What's at the back of this? What's at the back of this?" But we don't really. I don't back of this. We don't really say that. We tend to say, "What's behind it?" I think. What's behind this story? That's what we say in the UK. So there's Americans say one thing. We say the what's behind it, or what's behind this story. Yeah, yeah. I
mhm,
totally agree with you there. What is behind this? My
behind,
my feeling is that the FSB
yeah,
is trying to make Ukraine look dirty, make it look corrupt, make it look as if to denigrate it, to make it look dirty in some way.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and so
exactly.
if you, um, so other countries will say, "Oh, look at this! This is terrible. We
Mm,
shouldn't be helping Ukraine at the moment." But if you don't help
mm,
Ukraine, you're helping Putin, really. So it's sort of. I don't want to say it doesn't matter. It does matter. This sort of thing it really matters. It's very important. But not to help Ukraine in this situation would be pretty much helping to hand Ukraine over to Putin. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah,
You
it's,
need to help Ukraine to stop this from happening in the future. Yeah, I get a bit excited sometimes.
yeah, say it again, please. It's the
Oh,
last
I think
one because I
so.
didn't catch it, yeah.
Oh, I forget what I said now. To be honest, I actually forget. So
Ah. Okay, yeah, no, don't worry, yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, it's actually, yeah, is actually the best, or is actually the worst things. Uh,
mm,
not the worst, it's like, yeah, bad things, yeah, for my country, yeah.
mm. Yeah, but that's the sort of superficial side of it. But in a sense, but what I find equally interesting is the fact that they appear to have been caught almost immediately
Hmm.
because the attack only happened on the 1st of July and it's the 7th today. So within a week, the Ukrainian SBU seems to have uh, they seem to be presenting the story which is behind this lady doing this attack.
Hmm.
So it's interesting here. It says the victim traveled a certain distance with them, presumably in the car,
Okay.
after which she was killed. That's just it's a quote. See the quote marks on the end and the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
So this appears to be the BBC is directly quoting, I guess, what the prosecutor general and SBU has said. So the
Yeah.
SBU seems to know a lot more about this. So within a week, they're able to say that the victim traveled a certain distance with them and after which was killed. It sounds like the SBU are in the forest with the binoculars watching them almost. That's almost what this looks like. Or or they have a drone watching them, or they've bugged their phone, they've tapped their phone, because you have a mobile phone and it's switched off. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that the secret services can't then still use that phone to hear what is being said in the presence of that phone, even though it's maybe switched off. They have ways beyond our understanding. What I would say. So this statement here says absolutely everything. The victim, the lady, the bomber, traveled a certain distance, and I bet they know exactly what that distance is 100 kilometers or whatever it would be,
Hmm.
after which she was killed. There's too much information there. To me, it says they knew exactly what was happening and they were watching, which, of course, is why they seem to have detained the two people, one of
I
which is in the
guess.
MOD.
I
Yeah.
guess, Tony, they
Mm.
probably checked cameras on a highway.
Yeah, there is that, of course. Yeah, I forgot that. Yeah. Do you have lots of cameras along the highway, speed cameras and those sorts of
Yeah, like a
things? Yeah.
speed camera and another, yeah,
Mm,
like
mm.
security.
Yeah, I suppose probably more so now, I guess.
Yeah,
Interesting. Very, very.
but
So the other,
it's
yeah, go on.
you said it's like, yeah, it looks like they almost uh, find out who killed a bomber,
Bomber, yeah.
a bomber.
Mm,
Yeah, just like in a week. Yeah, but
mm.
to my mind, it should like be a bit quicker because it, it's
Yeah,
like
go
it's
on.
like 6 day pass and yeah,
Yeah. Well, the first thing happened in another country, happened in Monaco. So I don't really. Maybe they could have had someone following her, and when she was getting ready for the attack, maybe they should have. Maybe in a sense they
mm,
could have stopped it. Maybe, but then again, maybe they did because the person didn't actually die. So maybe the SBU had an agent there and was saying, "Oh, don't go downstairs yet," and then to the multimillionaire for a reason. And we don't really, first of all, we don't really know. I'm assuming lots of things. I'm
mm,
adding in lots of things. I'm reading between the lines of this story. So that's a great way of using that phrase, actually. Have you heard the phrase reading between the
Reading
lines?
between two lines.
No, reading
Yeah.
between the lines. Oh, I said loans there, but it's actually line. So this is an idiom, and it means trying to seeing something that isn't actually said in the story or what's being written or what has been said. So
Um,
I'm looking at this story here. There are lines of words on the screen. And if
mhm.
you've noticed, between the two of us, we're trying to see any other meanings or any deeper meanings, or how on earth could this really be the case? This if this line here is true, with this information up here, maybe that means that there must be this other truth, this other thing must be true. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So we're trying to sort of logically work out other things which haven't actually been said on the screen. So that's reading between the lines. I'm trying to find out things which haven't been said. So they haven't said anything really about that she was a spy. I don't think it says she was a spy, but I've jumped to that conclusion. I've even said that these two people were her handlers. So these are reading between the lines. All of these things I've said are really, I say, reading between the lines. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
So, and
yeah.
you can do that when you're watching a film in the movie in a film in a film theater or on TV. You can read between the lines, or your friends can tell you a story, and you can read between the lines of what they're saying. So you can
Mm,
infer or work out other meanings to what they're saying. If he's broken up with his girlfriend, that must
mhm.
mean this, this, and this. So they haven't said these other things, but
Okay.
you're sort of
Yeah, yeah, I
assuming, or
got it.
you've worked
It's
out
the,
this other details from what
can
this
we
one
say
little
like a
detail. Yeah.
prediction? We was doing predictioning
Mm.
what could happen next. Can we say like reading between the lines? It's like predictions. Yeah.
Um, well, with predict, so I would say, so let's try and predict the future. Let's try and predict where this
Um.
story is going. Let's try and predict how this film ends. We might say that, something like that. So all of those things are pointing to the future. So, but really,
Yeah.
everything we've read here is about the past. Normally, I think when you say reading between the lines, it's something in the past. It's in the past.
Um.
So you're analyzing the past and trying to work out a deeper meaning or what really happened. So people said one thing, but
Yeah.
is there another truth that they're not saying? Is there a truth here that they're not saying?
Mm.
Maybe they don't want to embarrass themselves, or they don't want to look bad, and so they only give you half the story, and you then try to work out the other half that they're not telling you. And that the half they're not telling you is the part of the story where they tend to look bad sometimes. So your friend of yours might say, "Oh, I dumped my girlfriend," but in
Yeah.
truth, she dumped him.
Ah.
I'm
Okay.
sure that's happened, and you work that out from something
Yeah.
else that he said. Oh, but hold on,
Uh,
you rang. Oh, yeah, you've probably worked out some other detail. I can't. I'm sure we could come up with some funny story there, but
yeah, I got
yeah.
it.
So
It's
that's
like
reading between the lines. So one people say some things, and they only
yeah,
tell you half the truth, and it's almost always the case, isn't it? And you then
yeah,
try to
and uh, when we say reading between the lines, it's actually all the time about something which happened. What
when
happened?
it's
What
with
happened?
real people, yes. When it's with real people, yes. But it can be
Yeah.
with story. I think really, I don't. I think really this happened from comes from stories that you read a book, it's just a story, uh, and you then try to work out some other meaning in the story. So with there was a lady called Agatha Christie. She
Yeah.
wrote crime stories. So in the story, often they might start out someone dies or is actually, and then they find out they were murdered, and the story goes on. And really, in an Agatha Christie story, it's always about who committed the crime, who murdered this person.
Mm.
And you
Okay.
tend to find out in Agatha Christie stories are almost always crime thrillers or crime. So a crime happens, and the thrill, the excitement of it is all the details that happen afterwards. And the fun of it really also is you as the reader reading the story trying to work out who is the killer, because the writer puts in loads of clues as to who the killer might be, but
Okay.
there's loads of dummy clues in there too, because that's what real life is like. We're surrounded by lots of useful information and lots of useless information. So useful and useless information.
Yeah, useful and useful. It's like opposite,
Mm.
yeah.
Yes, so let's write that down. So useful information and
No.
useless. So I wasn't very clear in saying that. So useful, that's helpful information, and
Yeah.
useless tends to mislead. Useless tends to mislead.
Yeah, useless. Like mislead, we can say like red fishes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, well done, very good. So in a Agatha Christie story, there's useless leads, and you could say exactly, well done. They're red herrings. Red herrings. That's
Red
it.
herrings, yeah. It's actually
Yeah,
fish, yeah.
yeah,
Red,
yes.
red herrings.
And did you say that, or did Michael say yesterday that a red herring was thrown out to send the seagulls to mislead the seagulls or something? I can't remember now. Did you?
Sig- Um,
So when fishermen are going fishing, there was this
mm,
possibility that maybe I'm wrong here, but they used to throw out a cheap a cheap fish, and it happened to be a red herring, to dis to distract or mislead the birds or something. So
um,
let's just tap it in here.
okay,
Do you
okay, yeah,
remember
I
that?
get it. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I
but
can't remember if that's true now. So
I heard as well that
carry on.
Michael
Yeah.
said yesterday
Hmm.
that probably when we cook
Mm.
red herring, she became red, yeah.
Oh, go on. Yeah.
But it
Oh,
looks like before cooked, it's like a normal. It has normal color, yeah. But when we cook it, became red, yeah, probably.
or becomes
Or
red.
becomes, yeah, or
Oh,
becomes
oh, that's
red.
interesting. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Hmm. Oh, this is the origin here on the screen. And the first one, at the first it says, so the term red herring originates from a practice where a smoked red, so smoking makes, it's basically the fish is put in a smoky atmosphere. So there's lots of smoke in the air, and it gives the
Mhm.
fish a particular flavor. I'm sure you almost certainly done done that where you come from, and have heard that before. So a smoked herring was used to mislead hunting dogs by dragging it across the trail to distract them from their prey. This practice was believed to help train hounds to follow the scent trail, which was later adapted into a figurative meaning of a misleading or distracting clue in discussions. The phrase was popularized by English journalist William Cobbett in 1807, who used it to criticize the press by misleading them, so for being misled by false information, which is the press do that nowadays, really, don't they? So anything else?
Not really.
Okay.
Mm.
So just going back to the story again, then. So this little bit here makes me think that the SBU was in control all along,
Mm.
but they had
Was
to let the crime continue, otherwise they have nothing to charge the suspects with.
you mean
So they, yeah,
like they knew that it could happen, yeah, and
mm,
then they let it go, yeah.
yeah.
You mean like this?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think so. Or if they were, let's say, listening to their phones, their mobile phones, well, they're
Yeah.
at a distance; they can't do anything about it. Or if they were watching them with cameras or drones or something, then you just have to
Mm.
watch. They can't necessarily stop it. But the other side of it is just as you said. So you said that. So I might be wrong, and you sort of put another perspective on it. You said that they could have worked out that these two men were driving along the road with her in the car by using the cameras, and they could have worked that out after the crime had happened. So they went
Mm.
through all their camera footage. So when I say camera footage, that means all the recordings of the traffic on the roads. With obviously the cameras are taking the photos or pictures. So when we say
Yeah.
footage, it's a way of referring to the film or the recordings of anything really. So the SBU or someone went through the footage or the recordings of the traffic on the roads and worked out who was in the car or
Yeah.
where Berezovska was, and maybe
Yeah.
from that they then worked out where the body was, and from the footage of of her being in the car, they worked out who the two suspects were, and then they arrested them. So it could be all after the fact as well.
Mm.
But I think to go through all the footage of the traffic and to work out where this car was, who was in the car, and it to take less than a week because the attack happened on the first. She would then, I think it then took 2 days for her to get back to Ukraine. So that would have been the third. Today's the
Okay.
fourth. So it's only to do all that within just four
Mm.
days. It's not
Okay.
impossible. It's not, we don't really know what they're capable of.
Yeah.
But my suspicion is they had an idea it was going on and they were in some way tracking them. That's my intuition. That's how I read it between the lines. But your reading of between the lines is interesting and possible, definitely possible. So, and because you were
Mm.
saying, I think you said after the fact they sort of discovered all of this. That's how I took it anyway.
Yeah.
So have you had something to eat? Because this is gone up. It's 8:15 now.
Yeah,
So,
actually, before our lesson, yeah, I had my
okay.
dinner, yeah, and yeah, don't
Yeah.
worry, yeah, I'm not hungry.
Mm. Are you not very hungry? No, that's good.
Yeah, yeah, but I still need to go to my kitchen and prepare my lunch box for tomorrow, you
Oh,
know.
lunchbox. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like these things.
box. Yeah. And you got to hug your fiance. Hug her, give her a good squeeze. Don't
You
forget
know,
about her.
it's very hot in the room, and when I gonna hug you, yeah, we like wet became will be wet, you know. Yeah,
We don't
but
hug her for long. I mean, 10 seconds.
yeah,
It's just a way of recognizing her. I tend to think my experience is ladies love a hug like that. It's just a way of recognizing them, and
yeah, they love kissing and
yeah,
hugging,
yeah.
hugging.
But I don't mean hugging for a long time. I mean literally just maybe 10 seconds.
Yeah, but it
It's,
can
it's
look.
like saying hello
Yeah, it's like to say hello.
or
Yeah,
goodbye
yeah,
even.
yeah, yeah. But even I know that the women
Mm,
tend to kiss each other when they just to say bye
mm,
or to say hello.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
What on the sides of their cheeks, sort of left side and right side. Is that what you mean, or
yeah, 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 yeah. Cheers. Yeah.
yeah?
But it's actually not all the time with the boy, with boy, yeah.
Mm. I in the UK, I'm thinking, do I see that? I don't know, you know.
In our country, for example, yeah.
Maybe sometimes, yes. Maybe it's very they haven't seen for a
Ah,
long time, maybe a year, and maybe their family. There was
really?
I don't
Okay.
you know what, maybe you're right, but I don't know how to check that really. I, so it's worth thinking about. I don't know really, but yeah. So yeah, definitely in some countries greetings are different, say in other countries. So
Oh,
I
yeah,
think in the
yeah.
UK we're a little bit reluctant to have too much contact. But the younger generation, so I'm
Oh,
more of the older generation, the younger generation in their 20s, that they are much more huggy.
okay,
They are
yeah.
much more huggy. But the older generation are a little bit more, I would say, standoffish. Stand off.
Ish.
I just put that
Ah,
down.
stand off ish. It's like ish is a bit,
Yeah.
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 Off, yeah. It's
Mm.
like out. S- stand, stand off ish. Okay.
So, wow. So distant and cold. So I think there is a sort of a tendency of the British to be a bit more distant and cold, and,
Yeah.
apparently unfriendly. But that's just how we are, I think. But do you think that's true? I mean, not saying it's every single person all the time, but people can revert to this very quickly. Let's listen to how they say it.
Standoffish. Standoffish.
Standoffish.
Stand off ish.
Yeah.
Ah,
So
okay.
aloof, a little bit distant, remote, detached. Impersonal is very clever. Not very clever. Is sort of the deeper meaning, I would say.
Impersonal.
Mm.
Say, for example, probably if it's first meeting, yeah, they would, but if
Mm.
it's just
All right.
like regular things, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, actually, and it as well depends on the person. If yeah, because like
Mm.
someone like this thing, someone knows, yeah, someone
Mm.
know.
Mm. I suppose the standoffish stuff comes in when it's people you don't know, I think. And when it's people you do know, it doesn't really apply, I think. So, especially I suppose if you're in a city, people are different about when you see people in the country or people who live in the country. It tends to be there's a different attitude, I think, as well. Um,
You said like people who from city and the people who from village, they have
yeah.
different attitude.
I think so, yeah. And I'm not saying
Oh,
every single person in the
yeah, yeah,
city is
yeah,
this way,
yeah.
or every
Okay.
single person in the country is that. As a in a general, to generalize.
Hmm.
So it's wrong for some people. I'm mislabeling a lot of people, awful to say that.
You think like who from countryside is more friendly or more like isolated?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. You know, I really don't know.
Yeah.
But I would say the Italians seem much more of a friendly nation when you first meet them. I think they're much more friendly.
Mm.
Italians,
In my mind, to my
yeah.
mind, I know that Georgia is very friendly country.
Oh, Georgia.
Georgia,
Georgia.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Georgia.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's massive. Yeah, I've
because
never been there. Yeah. Gorgeous.
really,
Yeah.
actually, you can ask about this country, Tony, because he
Mm.
went this year, like for the
Oh,
some
really?
meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was there just
Mm.
like a couple time,
Mm. Mm.
and he all the time stay happy
Yeah.
with his
Mm.
friendless.
Friendless?
like like friendly attitude.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So, it's interesting. So, the Scottish people, I'd say, are different from the English people. There's the cities in Scotland are quite small, and
Yeah.
there's a lot more sort of countryside or out in the open.
Uh,
So there's a lot more space between the cities, and I think it's generally sort of true if you're out exposed in the countryside, you could die literally because it can be so cold sometimes in Scotland. You might die that night if you didn't get cover, if you didn't get some sort of warmth.
mm,
So I think that when that's the sort of situation, I think it does make people come out differently in the sense that it produces a different character in people, and that they are a little bit more caring of others
uh,
in those superficial circumstances. So they make sure people are okay, that they're not sort of, they've got enough water to drink, and maybe that they're not going to get cold.
it's interesting,
Does that make
actually.
sense? So I'm
Yeah,
sure that's
yeah,
true
it's not.
elsewhere, but I'm sure that's true. But
Yeah,
when you're in Britain, or let's say the south of the country, you might die of the heat rather than the cold, I would say. But definitely, so in Scotland, there's precious. I don't think in a sense, there's no homeless people in Scotland.
mm,
In one sense, because if they are outside, because they'll blinking die, they could die, I should say.
okay.
So the housing regime is different. So they tend to make sure that the homeless do have somewhere to live or stay, even if it's quite simple. So that in a sense, there's no homeless in Scotland. You can say that. So it sounds like, oh, there must be a wonderful country up there. But because you can die, they're obviously looking after those people. But it's not so true in the south of the country. So the money doesn't really get spent in that sense. And the other side of it is that I would say that if you are homeless in Scotland, you do tend to come south because it is warmer and there's more money in the south. People are a little bit more generous in London, or there's some, I don't know actually exactly more generous, but you get there's a lot more people in London who might give you money than there is, say, in other places around the country because London is such a big city.
Mm.
So you could say that's one reason why there's a lot more homeless in London. And in fact, a lot of
Okay.
them, a lot of
Okay.
them gather in one particular sort of borough. Let's say that's interesting. That so
Borough.
if we
Okay.
borough,
Uh,
so one sort of region.
yeah,
So
it's like area,
rates,
yeah, in
yeah,
London.
area. So
Borough.
I'm in Hillingdon. That's on the west side.
Mm.
And Bermondsey is sort of another place in London. I'm sure you come from sort of you're northeast London, aren't you? I think
Yeah,
so.
no,
You're in a borough up there. So there's rates of homelessness. I missed out the ness. Homelessness. So homelessness. Strange word, that isn't it? Homelessness
homelessness.
in London. Boroughh boroughs. I've spelt London wrong. They're telling me that. So hopefully it'll give me a list. So all the boroughs. There's 32 boroughs in London. Well, 33 if you count the city of London. So Newham is the worst affected London borough, with 1 in 18 people regarded as homeless. Yeah, and Westminster, followed by Westminster with 1 in 21 people, and then Lambeth with 1 in 26, which is a heck of a figure, isn't it, really?
Mm.
And Westminster is one of the richest boroughs in London. and that's because people go to Westminster because they know there's more money there. It's not that
Mm,
they're sort of they're homeless millionaires or something, or homeless half millionaires. It's people that have gone to Westminster because there's more money there. Um,
uh,
that's understandable, of course, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
And I'm sure there's other sides to this story as well.
But I know that government ready to give them house to homeless to be protected, but they have a choice. Actually, they can take, for example, place where can they sleep and eat, and they have to
Mm.
just like follow the other instruction, or they can choose money probably, and they receive some amount of money each month, yeah, and they live where they want. It's like like this, or probably I'm mistaken.
I think bits of that are true, but I don't really know the exact circumstance of everything
Mhm.
there. Um, a number of the people who are home, there is something you can do on Meetup. There's a couple of groups called, and they go out and talk to the homeless, and it's
Oh,
not really
really?
about necessarily giving them stuff, but you can do that too. It's really about just talking with them, really, sharing their life and you sharing your life, maybe.
Okay, it's like,
That can
yeah.
be incredibly informative, but obviously if you're very busy, it isn't necessarily something you can do.
Yeah, Tony, would you like to have some short funny story from yeah, from my
Mm.
experience with a homeless?
Yeah, yes, go for it.
Yeah, I
Mm.
had a job.
Mm.
Yeah, just do collection, and it
Mm.
was yeah, like I don't remember. It was around
Camden, Camden,
Camden.
yeah,
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 it's
yeah.
actually looks like wealth area. Yeah,
Wealthy area, yes,
wealthy
yeah.
area. Yeah, and
Mm.
I arrived to the location where Skip was. Yeah, and
Mm. Mm.
what made me surprised that there was a lot of over a lot rubbish on the top, and it was like
Oh
overload,
dear,
yeah,
overloaded, yeah, overloaded.
overloaded, yeah, and right side of the skip was actually like with with rubbish, yeah, but a pipe, yeah, just
A,
big
a,
amount of rubbish, yeah,
a big pile of rubbish.
yeah, big pile of rubbish, and
Yeah,
you know what?
in the skip.
Uh, exactly next to the skip,
Oh,
yeah.
next to it. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? Yeah, you aware, and you
Mm.
know that I need to put my
Mm.
chains on a two sides, you know,
Yeah. Oh
just to
no.
lift it.
Yeah.
And the one size was in a rubbish, and there is there is no space just to put the chains
Yeah.
for
Oh
the
no. Yeah.
right side. I
Yeah.
decided just put it on arms on a left side and
Mm.
pull it.
Yeah.
Just make it, yeah, just make
Drag it.
space.
Drag it over.
Drag it, yeah.
Drag the skip over. Yeah.
Yeah, when I dragged the skip, I heard some sound, you know, and,
Oh no.
and someone from the pie of Mount came out and asked for me, what are you doing? I'm sleeping here.
Mm.
And
Crumbs.
it was a homeless, you know, and
Yeah.
he made
Yeah.
there is some like stayed for the night, you know, and
Yeah.
I didn't recognize that
Wow.
he can be inside, and
Mm,
I could actually hit him
mm,
or hurt him, yeah, as well.
yeah. Hate
Yeah.
to say it. I mean, say something had gone wrong and the skip had dropped down.
Yes, yes.
It's unlikely, I suppose, but he could have killed the guy, and
Yeah,
unintentionally. It's because he's doing something very strange.
yeah, because
You know, there's another story. Yeah, that is a terrible story in a way. There's another
yeah.
story where one place I used to work, they had it wasn't really a skip, but it was called a compactor. A compactor. So you pile your rubbish
Okay.
in the back,
Oh
and
yeah.
this thing would a hydraulic ram would then would compress all the rubbish into a much
Okay.
smaller space. So and then the rams would then come back and you
Yeah.
then put a load more rubbish in there, and you could
Mm-hmm.
keep compacting it for a week or a month or something,
Mm-hmm.
always making more room, and eventually you have to empty the thing out. There was, and every night I think we tried to lock it or something, but one night we forgot. We put a padlock on it. We forgot. We went to compact it the next day, and there was a guy in there, and he shouted, "Hey, I'm here! Stop compacting!" And there was a guy inside the
Oh
compactor.
my
We
God.
really could have crushed the guy.
Oh my God.
And I think so. I think there was food in there, or just it was warm in there, but it must have stank from
Oh
old.
my
Maybe we
God.
just emptied it out the day before or something. I don't know, but we're going to compact the poor guy. And the thing is, it's so noisy. The machine or the hydraulic rams going pushing the rubbish up into one end to compact it. You know, you wouldn't necessarily hear what he was. I wasn't actually there when this happened, but
Oh my
it's so
God.
noisy. You know, is a chance if let's say the guy had pressed the button and walked away, that guy would have died.
Yeah,
That guy would have died
yeah, yeah,
because you're not going to stand there do nothing because you literally just press a button and walk away.
yeah. And the machine works, yeah, itself.
Very very shocking, really. So,
Yeah, but yeah, they actually, yeah, just like
mm,
they looks like they don't think at all, like, yeah, they know
yeah,
there is some food they can eat something here, but anyway, they have to think about their life because yeah, and you know what? This homeless asked me when is gonna be next skip because he wanted to stay in this place. I said
when's
him
gonna be
it's
next skip?
it's collection, and
Yeah,
I will tell to my office that this skip is overload.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's actually. Like because probably skip was like 1 week and no
yeah,
one collected it and
yeah, yeah,
he used it like a home. Yeah.
yeah. So was it that? Do you think maybe he was inside one of those flats nearby, but the landlord had him kicked out? Maybe he wasn't paying the rent, I'm guessing. And along with all the rubbish that was in there, so that's what the skip was for. And so he didn't go any further than the skip. So he just came out of the flat and then stayed right next to the skip. Is that possible, do you think?
I think he like a professional homeless. Probably he was
Yeah.
like kicked off 5 years ago or probably more,
Oh,
not like a
oh,
week.
oh. So he
Yeah,
was long-term homeless, you think?
yeah,
Long-term
long-term
homeless.
homeless. Yeah. Yeah, it's you know what
Hmm.
they looks yeah, not all of them they looks like healthy, yeah, but most of them I would say yeah they can work, not hard work, yeah, but they can work. They are lazy probably, yeah.
Well, I would say go on if you get the time on Meetup. There's definitely a group called. Is it called something
Mm,
like Socks? Is it called Socks?
mm,
Let's say homeless. Home. I can't spell homeless. Home. Oh dear, my spelling's so laughable. Oh, uh, can't think what they call it. It's something to do with socks. Is it called the sock mob? Actually, the sock mob or something. I think it's called
Talk mobile. Okay, and
sock mob. It's then that's what they call themselves. Oh, it hasn't come up. So if I say, let me just search the internet, say sock mob because it's not really helping me there, is it? So sock MOB mob. So a mob is a group of people. A mob of people is just a group of people.
okay,
Sock
mob.
mob. Of course, they want to sell me socks. That was a silly thing to do, wasn't it? Oh, here we go. So the
Ah,
sock mob, homeless volunteers, and it's on Meetup. It is on Meetup. I've got to search Google or something to find this group because I searched it on Meetup and it wouldn't come up with the answers. Strange, isn't it? So if I click here, so they call themselves the sock mob, and I think one of the things they do is they hand out socks to the homeless people
ah,
because actually that's really helpful. They don't really want food. They don't necessarily really want money or something, though. They won't say no to money probably. But socks is something they do want. So it can be really, really informative to just join this group and maybe go along to one of their events.
yeah,
But
yeah, I
they
guess
generally
it's.
want small numbers because one homeless person doesn't want to be surrounded by 8 people. It's a bit sort of
Ah,
intimidating. So with these 8 people, they might split into 2 groups of 4, or maybe or even 2 groups of 3, or no, 3 groups of 3 groups in people. So there's only a couple of people, maybe 3 around one other person, because it's a bit intimidating.
but if he, for
Mm.
example, some homeless is not happy to speak,
So a
yeah,
homeless person would say, homeless
a
person,
homeless
yeah.
person is not happy just to speak with some volunteers,
Mm,
and
yeah.
they are gonna to look for the another the person homeless.
Yeah, that's basically what they would do, yes.
Oh.
Um, so I've heard of this guy, Baruch Solomon. I may have met him, and I probably was a member of this group years and years ago.
Mm.
But if you see that they got 30 other people who lead the group, 30 people, including him, 31 people. So presumably they are actually planning that. Say this one, there's 5 people, 5 attendees coming. I guess they've got two from these 30. 2 leaders will turn up to this event, I imagine, or at least 2, maybe 3 or 4. I don't know how they work it really. And what you'll find is that they actually know the homeless people in an area. Oh, I know that guy. That's John. He's been homeless for 2 years. And they might have some sort of a story. They won't perhaps say that out loud because it's sort of private information, maybe, but because the homeless guy may have shared it with them over all the other weeks and months that they visited the same guy. And they'll also know that we won't speak to this guy because he does, is it spice? There's a drug called spice, and it
Mm.
looks like he's on spice today, and so
Ah.
it won't be much very useful to talk to him. A day later might go by. Oh, he looks like he's not on spice today, so maybe we'll have a chat to him today. So that sort of thing goes on all the time. So you get to know the people.
Yeah, it's
But
interesting. Yeah.
there's another guy called Nathan, and I think he might actually be a member of Homes of the Sounds of English. If I just search Nathan in the members, and I can't think if we were going to do this or not now. So I think one of the ideas was that he was going to to go out and talk to some of the homeless people. Is there a way to search? Oh, here we go. Search members. So if I just say Nay, have I spelled it correctly? Yeah, search. Oh, that's strange. I'm pretty sure he is a member, but it hasn't come up. So maybe he left the group. I don't know. So it's not this guy. Strange. There's
Mm.
only one per. I may have misspelt the name. I don't know. So that doesn't matter, really, does it? Yes. And this guy Nathan, he does this regularly. Visits the homeless, but he doesn't do it with the sock mob. He does it of his own, under his own sort of auspices. If that makes any sense. I'm not sure how to spell auspices. Aus- So that's auspice there. So auspices. So this is I think it's a Latin word, I think originally. So, and this is what you say, under the auspices of. So this is almost like an idiom, really, almost under the auspices. So I said he does it under his own auspices, and the other way you can use it under someone else's auspices. So if you could say you. Oh, this is a very complicated phrase. I can't really see it being helpful in a sense, but just now that we've used it, now that I've used it, I should say. So if you're doing it under your auspices or someone else's auspices, you're doing it in the almost in the name of another group. So you work for your employer. You could say, I'm doing this under the auspices of my employer, which is a very technical way of saying I'm doing this because this is my job, sort of a thing.
Just like it's like slight excuse, yeah, for example, no?
Um, it's if someone's generally this word doesn't get used, so it's kind of an odd word to use, but it's not really excuse. It's more the reason. It's not an excuse. It's more the
Yeah,
reason.
okay.
So it's more like the police might do this because it's part of their job to do something under the auspices of the British police force. This police officer did something. You might say something like that. But you probably read it. You wouldn't say it in everyday language. Yeah, and it comes from Rome. It's a Roman history. And an augur was someone who predicted the future. You're saying predicted before. So an augur was often an old lady. Does this ring a bell? An augur is often an old lady who was a bit mad sometimes, and she would predict the future. Sometimes it was an army would be defeated, and kings and emperors would visit these old ladies and to find out what was going to happen in the future.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah, I'm
looks
sure that
like
rings a bell. Yeah,
yeah, it looks like she looks like like she lives in a village and in a forest probably.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
That's it.
she and she even can be like a blind, and
Yes,
she like
exactly.
60, she
Yeah,
like
yeah.
70, or yeah, just
A crazy, and sometimes referred to as a crazy old lady. So
yeah,
that was in Roman Rudin's story, the Wind of Rome or
crack,
the Wind in Rome or whatever
yeah,
it was. Yeah, this old lady.
crackpot, no, no, no,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, crackpot. Yeah. So
crackpot,
if you're
yeah,
mad, you're described
yeah,
as a crackpot. Yeah, that's it.
yeah,
Crackpot.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it never used the word augur, but that's what you could call her, an augur. So so it's a person. No. If someone augurs well, if something augurs well or badly for a person or a future situation, it is a sign that the things will go well or badly. So So a person can be an augur, and what they say can be an augur as well. So I give you an augur. I give you a prophecy, basically, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, I got it.
Yeah, but a person could be an augur. I'll try. So in ancient Rome, here we go. So in ancient Rome, a religious. Oh, this is I don't even know how to say the word. Auspix. So that's the role. That's the male role, I think. That's the male bearing that role. Oh, we're talking
Okay.
about rubbish now. So this is not very helpful. So we'll leave that alone. The history is very fascinating, though I find it anyway. Oh, I'm assuming I'm showing you on the screen, but I'm not showing my screen at the moment. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, I just
So,
see your picture. Yeah, yeah.
oh yeah, I didn't realize. Sorry, this
Yeah,
has happened
but don't,
before.
yeah, yeah, don't
Sorry.
worry. Yeah, don't worry.
Well, you got to go and squeeze your
Yeah,
something or other. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, thank you, Tanya. Yeah, have
Okay.
a good evening. Yeah, bye
Same
bye.
to you both. Bye bye. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Bye bye.